Hi, Julie Watts here. Thank you for joining me on my YouTube channel. So today we're going to create something similar to this, but we're going to use different stamps. We will stick with the same kind of colour scheme though. So it's a collage, and I'm using the Spectacular Squares collection from Sentimentally Yours, and on this particular one I've got one of the small squares from the butterfly, one from the rose, and one from the daisies medley sets. So we're going to just change it slightly and just use slightly different stamps just to show you that they are all mix and match across all 6 of the sets. So to start with, we're going to create a little bit of a mopped up background. You can do this 2 ways. You can stamp first and then do your mop up. But I've got a mop up that's dry, so I thought we'd actually just start with the mop up. So I'm just going to use one of the Sentimentally Yours watercolour blending brush pens, and these are from set 1. So we've got kind of a pink. It's quite a dark pink, this one. So just scribbling some onto my craft sheet. And then we're going to mist with some water, and this is one of the Sentimentally Yours mist spray bottles, and they're like an oval shape, which is quite ergonomic. It fits in your hand really nicely. So just to get the colour moving, I'm just going to tap the edge into my water and my ink, and now we've got kind of blobs going on, and now I'm just going to pick them up onto my card. And that's the start of our background. That's all we need in that colour. So we just clean that up. Obviously, plenty of ink there, so I'd probably have a few on the go and get a few of them going. Let's just quickly heat set that. Normally, I would probably leave it to dry on its own, but you know, it's not a micro product. You could do this actually, same micro product. You could just sprinkle a little bit of the Lunar Pearl Radiant Luster Pigment Powder in here and add a little bit of a shimmer to it if you wanted to, which is ever so easy to do. In fact, maybe we'll do that with the second colour that we're going to use, just to show you how easy it is to do, and then that would give you a bit of a pearlescent shimmer to it. And in that case, I would definitely do the inky mop up first before you stamp. Just grab my Lunar Pearl and a brush. See, the problem with heating it is that it needs time to settle down, but that's fine. I've got one already. So this is a really deep orange, this one. So again, we're going to sprinkle a little bit of that on our craft sheet. And these pens last such a long time. I've had mine 3 years in September, and I'm still on the original set. Amazing. So again, mist with water. Obviously, the more water you add, the more kind of the lighter the ink's going to be. So let's just grab ourselves a little brush. This is one of the Cosmic Shimmer soft brushes, which are perfect to use with any of your powders. So again, this is the Lunar Pearl from the Radiant Luster Pigment Powders. I'm just going to dip my brush in there ever so slightly and then just tap. I don't want much because it will actually thicken the ink up. So just going to tap, and then you clean your brush just by doing that. You don't need to wash them at all. And again, we're going to use the end of the... See, can you see how it's lightened? Obviously, if you mix it well, all of it's going to have the luster to it. But if you don't, you're going to have a variance, and it'll be darker where the powder's not mixed. So then we're going to just dip that in as well. So we've got some other colour going on. I don't need too much. And then I am actually going to leave that to dry. And if I remember, I'll show you that at the end. Once again, don't look. Definitely mop that up onto some more card, especially as it has the luster powder in it. So here's a strip that I've got that's dried earlier. This is just like an offcut from, you know, when you're making your 6x6 or your 7x7 cards. So that's what we want. We just want a strip to work with. And I don't really need a block this big, but let's see if I've got some more. for a small one. And I'm going to first of all use the lady. I'm just looking for something as usual. Not got everything I need. So this is the lady from the Spectacular Squares, and there's lots of different techniques that you can actually do with these, one of which I'm going to share with you now. And you, like I say, you mix and match across the different collections. So the this is in real money. I do about, apparently it's under 13 centimetres, but it's about just shy of 5 1/4 inches square, and then the small ones are just shy of 2 3/8 inches square. So these are great for 4 by 4 inch cards, 6 by 6s and 7 by 7s. You can use those. So we're going to first of all use one of the small ones from the Victoria Lady, and we are actually going to use the one with the lady on it. We'll get it out. Obviously, because you've got the other one as well, you've got to mix and match, and you don't have to mix across the different collections if you don't want to. I'm going to bring in the roses, but you absolutely can just do this with your Victoria Lady. You don't have to pull in different ones. Let's just pull in a piece of paper just to stamp on so I don't make too much of a mess. And I'm going to use Versifying Clear Nocturne, which is the black. And we're just going to ink up our lady. Now you do need to remember that if you're using these and you want them to be a certain way up, that you actually stamp them the right way up so that the ladies are not nose diving on your panel. So give her a good old ink. Doesn't have to be perfect, but it'd be really nice if we could get all that detail out. And we're going to stamp her. I mean, this is going to get cut down a bit, but we are going to stamp her sort of on the wonk, but kind of there. So we're going to get all of her body in there, all of her torso. Give a good press. And then lift her up. There we go, there she is. Absolutely beautiful. Give that a wipe so I don't get too mucky when I pick her up, and we'll put her to one side. So we're only stamping her once. I am going to just give her a quick blast, ever so quick, not necessary, but because the ink takes a while to dry and I'm going to use a mask, I really don't want to mess up the mask too much on the underside. So my mask, all I've done is stamp. It doesn't matter which one you stamp. This is one of the daisies. You just mask, you stamp a second time. So stamp once, and then if you stamp a second time onto your mask it sheet, and then cut slightly within the line, so slightly within this border, then you've got yourself a mask. And if I can get the end off, talk amongst yourselves. Here we go. It doesn't matter which way up it is because it's a square. I would like that to be, let's put that on that side then. So just ever so slightly inside the line. And if you do that, it means that you won't get a gap when you do actually stamp your collage. Let's pull it. This is where I faff, trying to get it nice and even. This is why you heat set a little bit, because the ink underneath will transfer to your mask, and if you want to use it again, you're going to get in a bit of a mess. Let me just move that ever so slightly again. I'm ever so sorry, but you want to see the proper effect. That's better. I might move that top one again in a minute. Right, so let's do the bottom one first. So we're going to go into the roses, the rose medley, and use one of the ones from here. And And I think we'll go for the one with the rose near the top first. You could just use all 3 roses, or you could, with the lady, you could just use the feather either side if you wanted to. But I thought it would be nice to show, because there is a system, and it isn't. They are meant to kind of mix and match. There's lots of different things you can do with them. You can you don't just need to have square toppers. You can have round toppers, oval toppers, label shaped toppers, rectangular toppers, whatever you want. But obviously, if you're just making a simple square card, you're sorted. Now, what we want to do is we want to have the rose overlapping where we've got that there, and this will just poke out from underneath. This is why we've got the mask, so that we can actually stamp over the top. I do need a new ink pad, I keep on saying that. Okay, so I'm just going to adjust this mask slightly at the top, so you can see where we're going. We've got a collage going on there, and it's totally different, and it will be different every single time, because you won't necessarily manage to stamp in exactly the same place every time. So just pop that on there like so. I'm not going to worry about this thin bit here, because when I chop it down, it will just be chopped down like so. And I can either stamp the same stamp, or I can stamp the other one. Let's just because we can, let's stamp the other one. Not necessary, but we can do. Incidentally, it's a good idea if you want to kind of keep on having masks, and if you've got your ink too wet underneath, before you actually clean off your stamp, you can just stamp separately onto your masking sheet, and then you've always got one the right size square that you can use. So this is the other rose. You do want to make sure that that's got a bee on it. You don't want the bee nose diving, so think about which way up you're stamping. Lots of tapping, because we don't want to mess up on the last one. If you're going to mess up, basically you will mess up on the last one. But that's what butterflies and little bees and all sorts of little embellishments are for, really, isn't it? To cover up your mistakes. So let's have that one about there like so. Lots of pressing. And now we remove that, and if you keep it on the backing, you can keep on using it. So because I dried that off, I haven't got ink on the back, which is ideal. That's what we want. If you don't dry it up, sometimes you get the ink on the back, and then that's going to transfer to your next image. So now what we do is we just trim that down a little bit. So I'll do that, and I'll be back in a minute. Okay, so I've trimmed down, and the Carl's now measuring 1 3/4 inches by 5.5 inches. So that will then eventually go onto a mat of black card, and then that will go onto my A6 card blank like so. So, you know, it's going to make a really simple card. So we're just going to start colouring in, and then I'll finish off on my own. So it is optional as to whether you actually do colour in or not, but it does make the colours pop a little bit. So I'm just adding some of the skin tone from set 3 of the watercolour blending brush pens. I mean, obviously we've got stuff going on here. That's her dress, that's not her skin. And we can put a bit of pink perhaps on her cheek, just to highlight that. And we can add in some of the red as well. So say where we've got these kind of symbols here, we can take a water brush, which I should have here somewhere. Where is it? You'd think I would have my water brush out, wouldn't you? Oh, goodness sake, where is it? I've got loads of water brushes. Let's grab one of these. That's empty. It's got some water in it. Oh, there they are. I can see them now. That's better. Let me get this one going. So you can take some of the watercolour blending brush pen and you can then move it out. So that's going to give a pop of colour to some of the postage stamps. Then we can take, if you look at your pinks, I've got a couple of pinks here. So we've got this one, which is a darker one. And then we've got a lighter one here. So we can take some of the darker one on the rose and just add some highlights. I mean, because we've got the kind of inky mop-up background, we can be really quite untidy with our colouring in. So it's very forgiving, and it's the easy person's colouring in this. And I find it really relaxing, because all you're doing is making that pop of colour, like so. And then you might want to add in some of the postage marks here. So again, take a blob of the colour and then just move it around. Or you can go the other way. So you could take a blob of colour going around the outside. That's almost a full circle when I've matched that one up there. So if you go around the outside, then you can pull the colour in to the centre, so the outside will be darker and the inside will be lighter. So you can do that too. So I'm going to carry on colouring in, and then I'll show you what it looks like when it's finished. But before I do that, this is the panel where we've got the inky mop-ups that I've just done. And so hopefully you can see that there's a bit of shimmer going on with the orangey colour that we've got in the background. So that's the difference between that and the one that I've already got. So if you stamp on top of that, you're going to be absolutely fine, but you're going to have that shimmer in the background. So I'll be back and I'll show you what the whole panel looks like when it's all coloured in. Okay, so we're all coloured in now. There's still some gaps, but that's absolutely fine. Bit steampunky. In fact, I haven't actually coloured the cogs in. I've just kept the colour from underneath. So, but that's enough. Absolutely, it's enough. It's a collage. So let's just edge the panel with some Kitsch Flamingo oxide. So the oxide, just because they're going to give us a lovely chalky edge to our piece, which is a nice thing to do. All the products are available on my website, juliawattscrafts.co.uk, for shipping to UK addresses. So we've just finished it off nicely. Edge to it. That's Kitsch Flamingo oxide. And then let's just add this to our Elegant Ebony back panel, matte, and then we'll stamp ourselves a sentiment. So I think these are great cards for a bit of batch making. So I mean, they're not just stamping and that's it. There is a little bit of enjoyment to be had from all the colouring in, I think, but not stressful colouring in. Just make sure that's nice and straight, and give it a good old press. So the sentiment we're going to add is from the Très Chic Essential Sentiments, and the original one was sending a little note to say. We'll see what we can put on there. And I am going to use my stamping platform, I think, just so that I get it nice and straight. So we go into our press to impress. So I've not put glued my panel on yet. I'm just going to position it so I know where I want it, and then I'll know where the sentiment's going to go. So it will go about there. So let's have a thank you so very much, which is another kind of quite tall sentiment. We can have that one about there. Let's just have a check to see if that's nice and straight. Looks straightish to me. Get rid of that. Pop that down. Let's have another magnet because we can. And then back to our Nocturne VersaFine Clair. Tap, 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 tap. Give it a press. You've noticed that I've put my card in there folded, just because it's easier. And it gives you a little bit more of a cushion as well. There we go, perfect. So now we can add our panel. Oh. And I'm just going to add it flat. You could just add a little bit of probably 1mm foam tape if you wanted to, but I'm keeping this quite simple. So it'll go into an A6 envelope, no problem. I've only got a little border top and bottom. Let's just check that's straight. Yep, give it a good old press. And there we have it, all done. Simple but effective A6 cards using the new Spectacular Squares collection from Sentimentally Yours. So just to recap on this one, we've used the butterfly medley, the rose medley and the daisy medley, and the one that we've just done is the Lady Victoria and then the rose top and bottom. As I said, all the products are available on juliawattscrafts.co.uk for shipping to UK addresses. Thank you so much for joining me on my channel. And if you're not already a subscriber, it'd be wonderful if you did. There are loads and loads of videos on my channel for you to enjoy at your leisure and, you know, craft along with if you want to. So thank you very much for joining me. I'll see you soon.